My name is Jenny, and the day my father's will was read, I learned that being invisible to your family doesn't make you worthless. It just means they never looked closely enough to see what you were building in the shadows. The law office smelled like old leather and broken promises. I sat in the corner chair, the one closest to the door, because that's where invisible daughters sit, ready to leave, expecting nothing, hoping for less. My sister Morgan occupied center stage, as always. She was scrolling through her phone, probably scheduling her next Instagram post about raw family moments and authentic grief. 40,000 followers hung on her every filtered tear. Mom sat beside her, one hand protectively on Morgan's shoulder. Dad, well, stepdad technically, though he raised me since I was 3, had been gone for 6 weeks. Cancer. Swift and merciless. I was 27 years old, and I'd spent most of those years as the family's afterthought. Morgan was the golden child, the dancer, the influencer, the one who knew how to make every moment about her. I was just Jenny, the quiet one who liked computers more than people. Mr. Caldwell, Dad's attorney, adjusted his glasses and cleared his throat. Shall we begin? Asterisk, if you've ever felt like the outsider in your own family, stay with me. This story gets better, or worse, depending on how you look at it. Hit that like button if you're ready for the truth about inheritances and family secrets. Asterisk. Mr. Caldwell opened the file with practiced efficiency. The last will and testament of Richard Morrison, dated March 15th of this year. 6 months before his death. Recent enough to matter. To my beloved wife Catherine, I leave the family home, fully paid, and my personal savings account containing approximately $340,000. Mom nodded, dabbing her eyes with a tissue that had seen better days. To my daughter Morgan Elizabeth Morrison, I leave the sum of $15 million from my investment portfolio to be transferred immediately upon my death. The room went silent except for Morgan's sharp intake of breath. $15 million. Mom actually smiled through her tears. Oh, honey. Your father loved you so much. Morgan was already calculating. I could see it in her eyes. The apartment in Manhattan. The brand partnerships. The lifestyle empire she'd always dreamed of building. I waited for my name. Waited for the polite dismissal, the small gesture that said, "We didn't forget you entirely." Mr. Caldwell looked at me, and something flickered across his face. Not pity. Something else. To Jennifer and Morrison. Here it comes, I thought. The $5,000 for college loans. The sentimental jewelry. The books from his study that no one else wanted. I leave nothing from my personal estate. The words landed like stones in still water. Mom didn't even look at me. Morgan smirked, then had the grace to hide it behind her phone. I knew it, Mom said, her voice carrying that familiar edge of vindication. Richard talked about this. He said Jenny never appreciated family, never made time for us. Always locked away with those computers, building walls instead of relationships. My throat tightened. Don't cry. Don't give them the satisfaction. I'm sorry, Jennifer, Mr. Caldwell said, but he didn't sound sorry. He sounded expectant. I stood up. Time to preserve what little dignity I had left. However, Mr. Caldwell continued, and I froze mid-movement. There is a second document. Asterisk, wait for it. This is where everything you think you know gets turned upside down. Comment below if you saw this coming, because I definitely didn't. Asterisk. Mr. Caldwell produced a sealed envelope, official-looking with multiple notary stamps. Richard came to me privately 3 months before his death. He was very specific about the timing of this disclosure. This document was to be revealed only after the reading of the primary will, and only if certain parties were present. Mom leaned forward. What document? Richard and I discussed everything. This trust was established independently, Mr. Caldwell interrupted, his professional courtesy evaporating. Mrs. Morrison, you were specifically excluded from knowledge of this arrangement. He broke the seal and pulled out several pages. To my daughter Jennifer and Morrison, I leave the entirety of Morrison Data Solutions, including all assets, intellectual property, client contracts, and associated investment accounts. The company's current valuation, as of last month, is approximately $47 million. The room tilted. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "What?" Morgan's phone clattered to the floor. Mom's face went sheet white. "That's impossible," Mom said. Richard owned a small consulting firm. It was barely making. "Morrison Data Solutions has been operating under a separate corporate structure for 8 years," Mr. Caldwell continued, his voice taking on an edge of satisfaction. "Richard established it specifically with Jennifer's skills in mind. She's been the company's anonymous lead developer since she was 19. My mind reeled back. The freelance projects Dad used to send my way. The NDAs I'd signed. The coding work that felt too sophisticated for small-time consulting but that I'd done anyway because Dad asked. I'd been building my own inheritance without knowing it. "This is fraud," Mom hissed. Richard was sick. He wasn't thinking clearly. Mr. Caldwell produced another document. "I have video testimony recorded by Richard 6 months ago, in the presence of 2 physicians who confirmed his complete mental competency. I also have medical records spanning the entire period of the company's growth, proving Richard was of sound mind throughout." He looked directly at Mom, and his expression was ice. "I also have forensic financial records indicating that you, Catherine, systematically drained Richard's joint accounts over the past 4 years to fund Morgan's lifestyle expenses Richard explicitly told you to stop. The $15 million left to Morgan represents exactly what Richard felt was lost to your mismanagement. He considered it a lesson more than a gift." The memories flooded back, sharp and clear. I was 8 when Morgan's dance competitions started consuming everything. Every weekend, every vacation, every conversation revolved around her performances, her costumes, her dreams. I'd sit in the audience with my cheap tablet, the one Dad bought me from a pawn shop, teaching myself basic coding through library books and YouTube videos. "Jenny, put that away," Mom would hiss. "Support your sister." But Dad would notice. After the competitions, when Mom was fawning over Morgan's trophies, Dad would sit with me in the hotel room. "Show me what you're working on," he'd say. He didn't understand the code. Not really. But he understood the logic, the problem-solving, the architecture of thinking that went into every program. He was an analyst by trade, worked with data systems for insurance companies. We spoke the same language, even if the dialects were different. When I was 14, I built a basic inventory management system for our neighbor's small grocery store. Dad saw it, tested it, and got this look in his eyes. "Jenny," he said quietly, "I think you're going to build something important someday." Mom overheard and laughed. "She's going to build a lonely life if she doesn't learn to be more social. Look at Morgan, she has thousands of friends online." But Dad kept believing. When I was 16, he helped me get a business license. Taught me about contracts and client relations. Sent me projects from his network, small at first, then increasingly complex. "Don't tell your mother," he'd say. "She won't understand until it's real. Until it's undeniable." By 19, I was ghostwriting AI solutions for small businesses, inventory prediction, customer behavior analysis, automated financial reporting. Dad would interface with clients, I'd do the development work. We split payments through a corporate structure he'd established. "This is your company, Jenny," he told me on my 21st birthday. "I'm just keeping the seat warm until you're ready to claim it." I thought he was being metaphorical. Morgan, meanwhile, leveraged every dollar Mom could redirect. Professional photography for her Instagram. PR consultants. That apartment in the trendy part of town that cost more than most people's annual salary. Brand partnership courses. Influencer conferences. Dad would come home from work, see the credit card bills, and his jaw would tighten. "Catherine, we discussed this. She's building a brand, Richard. This is investment in her future. She's 23 and has never held a job. Her job is content creation. You're just jealous Jenny isn't as successful." The fights got worse. Dad moved money into separate accounts. Mom accused him of favoring me, of being controlling, of not supporting the family. I stayed quiet, invisible, working in my room, building systems, learning everything I could about data science and artificial intelligence. Dad got diagnosed 2 years ago. Stage 3, moving fast. He had time, but not much. He called me to his study 6 months before he died. Jenny, I need to tell you something. Asterisk, the truth about family isn't always pretty, but it's always necessary. If this story is hitting close to home, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes being the black sheep means you're actually the wolf. Asterisk. In the law office, Mr. Caldwell was still talking, his words cutting through my memories. Richard also documented extensively the financial abuse he experienced. Mrs. Morrison, you withdrew over $800,000 from joint accounts without his consent over 4 years. The forensic accountant's report is available for court review if you choose to contest this will. Mom stood up, trembling with rage. He was my husband. That was our money. Money he explicitly told you not to spend on Morgan's influencer career, Mr. Caldwell interrupted. I have emails, text messages, recorded conversations. Richard documented everything, Mrs. Morrison. He wanted to protect himself, and more importantly, he wanted to protect Jennifer. He turned to me. Jennifer, your father left you several letters. And this. He handed me a flash drive. A small, silver thing that weighed nothing and everything. His final message to you. He recorded it 2 weeks before he died. My hands shook as I took it. Morgan found her voice finally. This isn't fair. Jenny doesn't even care about family. She never came to my events, never supported my career. Your career, I said softly, the word surprising even me, cost our father his retirement. Cost him peace in his final years. Cost him the ability to trust his own wife. How dare you? Mom started. I'm not done, I said, louder now. Something was breaking open inside me, something that had been compressed for too long. I sat in those audiences, Morgan. Every recital, every competition until I was 16. I cheered for you. I was proud of you. But it was never enough, was it? Because I wasn't the right kind of supportive. I wasn't loud enough, pretty enough, social enough. I looked at Mom. And you. You looked at me like I was defective. Like wanting to code instead of perform made me less than. Like building things instead of showcasing them made me invisible. You made yourself invisible, Mom spat. No, Mr. Caldwell said quietly. You refused to see her. There's a difference. The silence that followed was nuclear. The will is legally ironclad, Mr. Caldwell continued. Richard took every precaution. However, he left a provision. If Catherine and Morgan attempt to contest, the forensic financial report goes public, and criminal charges for elder financial abuse will be filed. Mom's face went from white to gray. Additionally, the $15 million to Morgan comes with a condition Jennifer can invoke. If she determines that Morgan has not demonstrated financial responsibility within 3 years, the money reverts to a trust that Jennifer controls, and Morgan receives only a modest allowance. Morgan's eyes went wide. That's not fair. That's your father giving you a chance to prove you're more than a brand, I said. Take it or leave it. The legal proceedings took 4 months. Mom tried to contest, quietly at first, then desperately. The forensic accountant's report was devastating. Years of redirected funds, forged signatures, unauthorized purchases. The court upheld Dad's will entirely. Mom lost the house. It had to be sold to repay misused funds. She lost her social standing when whispers of financial abuse started circulating. Her friends, those country club women who'd praised Morgan's Instagram aesthetic, suddenly had scheduling conflicts. Morgan's influencer empire collapsed spectacularly. Brands don't want to partner with someone whose mother embezzled from their dying father. Her followers dropped by half within weeks. The apartment went first, then the car, then the designer wardrobe. I didn't gloat. I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired. Dad's final video message, the one on the flash drive, I watched alone in my apartment the night after the will reading. He looked smaller than I remembered, the cancer having taken its toll. But his eyes were clear. Jenny Bean, he said, using the nickname he'd given me when I was little. If you're watching this, then you know. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you while I was alive. Your mother would have found a way to sabotage it, and I couldn't risk that. This company, this legacy, it's yours. It was always yours. You're going to feel guilty. Feel like you don't deserve it. Feel like maybe you should share with Morgan, with your mother. Don't. They made their choices. They chose to see you as less than because you were different. I chose to see you as more than because you were brilliant. Build something beautiful, Jenny. Build something that matters. And when you do, remember that being overlooked by people who should have loved you doesn't mean you're unlovable. It means they weren't looking in the right direction. I see you. I've always seen you. I'm so proud of you. The video ended with him smiling, that dad smile that meant everything was going to be okay even when it wasn't. I cried for hours. Morrison Data Solutions, under my official leadership, grew. I moved the headquarters to Seattle, hired a team of 20, then 40, then 60. We specialized in AI solutions for small businesses, the companies that couldn't afford enterprise software but desperately needed intelligent systems. I established the Richard Morrison Scholarship for data science students from low-income backgrounds. I funded coding boot camps in underserved communities. I built the legacy Dad wanted, not in dollars, but in impact. Morgan reached out 2 years later. Her message was simple: can we talk? We met at a coffee shop, neutral ground. She looked different, less polished, more real. No ring light, no perfect angle, just my sister looking tired and uncertain. I'm sorry, she said. I was awful. I was entitled and blind and cruel. Yes, I said. You were. Can you forgive me? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't know yet, I said honestly. But I'm willing to try. We're rebuilding, slowly. She's working as a social media manager for a nonprofit now. Real work, helping causes instead of just helping herself. She's dating someone who doesn't care about her follower count. She seems lighter. Mom, I haven't spoken to. She sent one letter, full of justifications and blame. I didn't respond. Some bridges burn for a reason. Asterisk if you've made it this far, you're my kind of people. Subscribe for more stories about family, legacy, and finding your worth when the world says you're worthless. Drop a comment telling me, have you ever been the overlooked one who came out on top? I want to hear your story. Asterisk. Last month, I spoke at a tech conference. 5,000 people in the audience, and I told them about Dad. About Morrison Data Solutions. About being invisible until I chose to be seen. My father gave my sister $15 million, I said. And he gave me something worth far more. He gave me the belief that I was worth investing in. Not someday, not if I changed, not if I performed. Just as I was, building things in the quiet corners where no one was watching. If you're the person no one sees, the one they dismiss, the one they overlook, keep building. Keep creating. Keep becoming. Because the best inheritance isn't money. It's the unshakable knowledge that you are worthy, capable, and destined for something they can't even imagine. My name is Jenny Morrison. I was invisible until I decided I wasn't. And this is my father's legacy. Not the company, not the money, but the simple revolutionary act of seeing someone everyone else ignored and saying, you're going to change the world. The applause was deafening. But the best part came after, when a teenage girl with bright purple hair and a laptop covered in coding stickers approached me, her eyes shining with something that looked like hope. I'm the invisible one in my family too, she whispered. I smiled and handed her my card. Not anymore, I said. Not anymore. My name is Jenny Morrison. My father saw me when no one else would. And now I'm building a world where being different isn't a weakness, it's a revolution. Asterisk, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who needs to hear it. You are not invisible. You are just waiting for the right light. Asterisk.